for the City of Fairview to order at 7:14 p.m., May 4th, 2023. First item on the agenda is the roll call. Mr. Ross?
Mayor Anderson,
Present.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Present.
Commissioner Street,
Present.
Commissioner Hall,
Present.
Commissioner Johnson.
Item number 3, prayer and pledge. Vice Mayor Butler?
Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 4, approval of the agenda.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Mr. Ross?
Commissioner Johnson. Aye. Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Street,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall.
Aye.
Item number 5 is citizens' comments.
We have none tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 6, public announcements, awards, and recognition. A, city events.
Good evening. Just want to go over a couple of events that we have coming up, but prior to that, last Saturday, we had the drug take back and car seat installation at the Tractor Supply. Nearly 50 pounds of prescription drugs were turned in. And we would like to thank Tractor Supply and the Williamson County Drug Coalition and the Fairview Police Department for assisting with that. The next event that we have coming up is not this Saturday, but the following Saturday on May the 13th from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. at Bowie Nature Park. It is the Arts and Crafts Fair. Right now we have 58 vendors signed up for that event. Hopefully the weather will hold out. And last year we had quite a few thousand people that showed up to that event. And then the following event that we have after that is the summer movie series. And I just want to make a note that we're just a couple months away from the July 3rd celebration. This year, just like every year, the July 3rd celebration is more than just fireworks. It's a celebration of our country and a thank you to the servicemen and women that have served our country. This year, we are wanting to do something special to honor the servicemen and women that have served our country and that are currently serving our country. And we would like for each person to take a picture of themselves and include their name, what branch of military that they served in, and how many years they have served. And if you could, please submit that to me via email, or you can come by City Hall if you don't have access to email, and we'll be more than happy to do that. And the purpose for that is we're going to create a slideshow and to honor those servicemen and women during the event, especially during one of our artists, Colby Oakley, which he is a local. He lives here in Fairview, and he will be performing from 6 to 7:30. So that'll be a time frame that we'll be honoring those veterans. We'll be asking them to come stage side, and we'll be giving each veteran that shows up a small gift that day. So if you could submit those items by Friday, June the 2nd, be greatly appreciated. That's all I have, Mayor.
On the Arts and Craft Fair, what is the time for that?
9 a.m. till 4 p.m. And I know that the Parks Master Plan is have a meeting with the Friends at 9 a.m. that day as well. I'm going to have signage up at the nature park for no event parking. That way there's enough parking for that meeting.
And I do want to mention that the American Legion and the Marine Corps League, I've already spoken to the commanders of both. They will be, if anyone wants to have their picture made and submitted, they will both have meetings before this deadline, and they can have their pictures made and submitted at their Marine Corps League and American Legion meeting.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about the events? Thank you. Item 6B, Child Care Provider Appreciation Day Proclamation. And we have two representatives here. If you will come to the mic and just state your name and. Yes.
I'm Dawn Green.
Lockie Anderson.
Thank
We're
you.
representing the Save the Children Network.
Okay, and I'm going to read the proclamation, and then after, I would like for the members of the BOC to come together, and we're going to get a picture with the two ladies that are here today. City of Fairview Proclamation. Whereas quality early childhood services such as child care represent a valuable investment in our children's future, as well as the future of our community. And City of Fairview citizens will join parents and organizations nationwide in recognizing child care providers, teachers, and educators for their efforts in caring for our children and providing them with quality early childhood experiences. And whereas the City of Fairview recognizes child care providers as an essential workforce for our economy that allows families access to the care needed so they can work, and whereas child care providers work long hours tasked with great responsibility and compensation that often does not reflect their level of importance in the lives of our greatest treasures, our children. And whereas citizens of Fairview are encouraged to recognize the tireless efforts of our child care providers and their dedication to providing consistent, quality child care and learning services, and honor them for the vital role they play in our children's future. Now, therefore, the Board of Commissioners of the Fairview, Tennessee, does hereby proclaim May 4th, 2023 as Child Care Provider Appreciation Day. And I want to say thank you to all the child care providers, because we often can remember someone who made a comment or gave us a hug or just did something really special, and that will continue with us all the way through our lives. Thank you. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great. Can you do it with your...
All right, thank you.
So I can send it to the real person who sent us here. Thank you so much. And thank you. On behalf of all the children. I saw those bunny ears. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Oh, I know, man. You hadn't seen me.
Item number 7, staff comments and monthly reports. A, community services report.
Thank you, Mayor. Sarah Toddy is ill tonight, and I'm going to read for her. This is engineering and planning, codes, and public works. For engineering and planning, there were 11, there were permits issued, 11 residential building permits issued in April, 2 accessory structures. There's a planning commission special meeting May 16th. We'll have 3 items on the agenda. 1, master development plan for Columbus Cove Townhomes across from Williamson County TDOT on Highway 96. 1 site development plan for Columbus Cove Townhomes, and 1 de-annexation for the June Warden property. There will be no work session. That's on the 16th. For codes, municipal inspection partners started this week and are getting acquainted with our IDT system and our sites for inspections. For public works, I believe like chipper service has been the word for them the last few weeks. They have completed 46 truckloads, that's dump truckloads. They're taking down and removing trees from windstorms on Farmville Road and removing a dead tree overhang on Lake Road. Litter removal on Highway 196, it was 26 55-gallon bags. They have also began mowing right-of-way. That concludes the community services report.
Thank you. And I do want to point out, which you emphasized, we normally have our planning commission meeting on the 2nd Tuesday of the month, but we need to make a note that it is actually the 3rd Tuesday in May. Item 7B, finance report.
Thank you, Mayor. You'll see the copy of the First Bank accounts, and on the back is our LGIP reserve funds. Nothing major to report there. I did want to talk a little bit briefly about the amended budget. My week was very hectic, and I was planning on emailing this information out, but there's no change in the original ordinance and the amended budget ordinance in the final numbers for general fund, street aid, and drug fund. What I have done is taken line items that were overestimated and filled them into line items that were underestimated. Basically, house cleaning, getting ready for the audit. You will also see that the money is in your BOC budget for the park lights. So we did have some other things that need to come up there. As we get to that line, I don't know if you have questions, be happy to answer, but I did just want to let you know that no revenue was adjusted and no fund balance was touched. Thank you.
Thank you. And item 7C is the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to I don't know if this is good or bad. I think it's really good, but the playground fence installation is underway. We have, just want to apologize to any citizens if the names were misspelled or pickets were maybe damaged. We will get those corrected and get them fixed. But it is underway, and it's looking pretty good. And if you haven't been by to see it, it is underway, and hopefully it's not going to take too long. Keystone started this week and was on site. Well, they'll be on site tomorrow, but they're on site Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 8 to 4 p.m. If you're having issues with any of your city issued IT, we'll schedule an appointment and get that fixed. I went and met with Tim White today and got news that I've never heard since I've been here. We had a flat renewal on our benefits. So this upcoming year should be, well, they said within pennies of what we paid last year. So that was good news for me today. So other than that, that's it for my city manager report. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions before we move on? Okay. Item 8, consent agenda. A, minutes from April 20, 2023, Board of Commissioner appeal meeting.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Mr. Ross?
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Street,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson, Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 8B, minutes from April 20th, 2023, Board of Commissioner work session.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Mr. Ross?
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Street,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson, Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 8C, minutes from April 20th, 2023, Board of Commissioners regular meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Mr. Ross?
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Street,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson, Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 8A, B, and C pass 5-0. Item number 9, old business. 9A, second and final reading of ordinance 2023-04, an ordinance to amend Title 4, Chapter 2, miscellaneous personnel regulations, and to adopt personnel rules for the city of Fairview, Tennessee. City Manager, Mr. Daugherty?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a lot to add from last meeting, but just to reiterate that this was written and vetted by MTAS, their HR and legal team, and our attorney has looked it over, and I believe it is a sound document that we can move forward with in the future. Thank you.
Any questions from the board?
I have one for the attorney. In your dealings with other cities, do all cities prohibit employees from running for office?
That's good practice.
It's a good practice, but they don't all do it, correct?
Most of the ones I know about do.
And the Williamson County government doesn't even do it itself. And I was told by several Franklin employees that Franklin doesn't even do it.
I don't know about Franklin, but I know many that do, so I can't say all.
But it is not a state law that it has to be done that way.
No. Not a state law.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve 9A, subject to that being removed from the document, allowing city employees to run for office if they live within the jurisdictional boundaries. I think they have a right as a citizen to run for office as well. Doesn't mean they'll win, but they should have the right to do so.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any other discussion? Mr. Ross?
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Street,
Nay.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Nay.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 9A passes 3-2. Item 10, new business. 10A, ordinance 2023-05, an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Fairview, Tennessee by rezoning 2 acres of property located at 2065 Fairview Boulevard, consisting of Williamson County Tax Map 042H parcel 012.00 from RS 40 Single Family Residential to C1 Commercial, property owner Southeast Investment Properties. Is there anyone here to speak on that, to represent?
My name is Billy Frank. I'm with RNMC Property Group, and we do have that property under contract for one of our customers that we develop for, and are asking, obviously, for the rezoning of that particular parcel. I'm here to answer any questions that you guys may have, and was here, I guess, a month ago in the first committee since we submitted that request for that rezoning. We are developers out of Middle Tennessee. We specialize in single-family or single-tenant retail commercial development. We do our own self-development. We've got a construction company, one of my partners, that we work with if need be. In this particular case, we do have a client. We've got a lease in place, assuming that we're able to get everything done. We would be required as the developer to do all the site work. And then this particular customer would come in and do their vertical construction in conjunction with us. We've got a couple different projects that we're working with them currently on. And it's basically what we specialize doing as a company. So I'm welcome any questions that you guys may have.
Before we continue, I want to entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we will continue with discussion.
Sir, the last time we were discussing this, y'all were gonna purchase the property behind this parcel also. Is that still?
No, ma'am. We have not had that particular parcel under contract. That's not necessarily our bailiwick as far as what we specialize in. I do know that it is for sale. We are working with the adjacent property owner on the road that runs between the Mexican restaurant and this particular property. There is cross-access from Fairview Boulevard to the property behind us that you're speaking of. And in order to have 2 ingress, egress points, we are working with that next door neighbor property to try to obtain the second route for ingress egress.
And I just want to clarify, because I know it probably was an accident, but you said you were going to say residential, and then you went back to single retail tenant. Is it a retail tenant?
It is a retail tenant, but I misspoke when I said residential. I do some residential construction on another company, so I apologize. I believe that property that you were speaking about originally behind it is future residential, but that's not anything that we're working on in this market at all.
Just wanted clarification.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem at all. It's actually Wawa. I don't mind saying, just because we would do work with them, and it is exclusive with them.
What is it?
Wawa, they are out of Pennsylvania. They are
I just thought I misunderstood.
yeah, they are an upper end convenience store that does hot food, et cetera. They've just recently developed out their Florida market, adding 600 units in the last several years. And they're connecting between the northeast Pennsylvania down through this part of the country, moving up through Kentucky. And so they've got a big push in Middle Tennessee. You probably maybe have seen some of the information on some of the sites that they've been working on, and we're working on a couple with them as well.
So it's WA.
WA.
And what type food do they serve?
Well, it's a convenience store, so it's gas convenient, but they do do a lot of hot foods and gourmet foods. It's a decent concept. If you go in and look at it, they've got a little bit of a niche. If you've ever been over to North Carolina, there's another one that's kind of what used to be a sister. They serve on each other's boards, but it's under the name Sheets. If you guys have ever been over there, you've seen them. They're private, and Wawa's private as well. But it's kind of an upper end in the area that they serve.
Okay, now I know what you're talking about because I
Okay.
lived in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
There you go.
So does this mean it's just a convenience store, or is it going to be a gas station?
It will be both.
Both?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
another gas station in Fairview? Okay.
Any other discussion? Mr. Ross?
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Street,
Nay.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 10A passes 4-1. Item 10B, ordinance 2023-06, an ordinance for an amendment to the City of Fairview, Tennessee budget for fiscal year 2022-2023. Budget. City Manager, Mr. Daugherty.
Thank you, Mayor. As I stated earlier, just basically house cleaning, budget amendment. There are some additions, but pretty self-explanatory. If there are any questions, I'll entertain them.
I have item 113 for the tree bank account. Is there a number for that?
That is the account number, 113.
No, I mean, is there a? What's the balance? I'm sorry, a balance for that.
Look at my finance report.
119,380.95.
$119,380.95.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Now we'll continue discussion. I apologize. I should have taken the motion first. What was confusing me is on this right here, it just didn't show anything for the tree bank.
Yeah, nothing in the budget for that year, this year.
Gotcha.
Do you foresee anything coming up in the next 7 weeks that we would have to do another budget amendment?
I do not.
On item for county property tax collection, where it says 54,000.
Is it in one of the department budgets or?
Operating? County
In the
209, county property tax collection.
Care if I step up there and see what you're talking about? I'm not sure.
I was just, I just wanted, I was thinking it was like 20 or 22. Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because I believe I remember it being stated it was gonna be 20 or 22,000. Oh, because I think when we voted, does anybody, I guess it would just be Brandon. Do you recall that we were told that it was gonna be like $20,000?
I do not recall the number at the time.
That's a bit more. They're charging us 54,000.
They're charging a percentage of collections, and I would have to look, but I'm thinking it's like 1.5% or 1%.
Okay, because I'll look.
Is that how it's been all along? Since it changed, it was a percentage, the percentage has not changed, and there was never a flat rate?
Mr. Daugherty, there's I guess a lot of moving and realignment. Does that mean were we off on budget? Is it pretty standard to having a budget amendment right before June with this much movement in it?
It's not, but we've had a lot of
Shifting and moving?
shifting, turnover, change in administration. We've had several projects that were not in the budget. I take it that they were waiting until they had a more definite number. I know there was 2 projects that were on for the fire department that I had to put on that were not even on the original budget. There were a few things like that. We had turnover in payroll that didn't foresee, that, had payouts and this, that, and the other.
Remind me what Lexipol is.
That is
Sorry.
yes, it's not a prescription drug. It is a company that is, we have hired to train on our HR policies. And it is a one-time, this year was higher because they had to do installation. The normal residual expense will not be that.
So that's like, do they come in and is it like a yearly thing that they work with the employees?
It's primarily on, they take our current policy and they put it in, and then they develop a planning with it, and then it's just primarily automated. And then we can, as a staff, we can print out when this training is done, put it in their file, and it's done.
So basically, they don't come in and administer the training, it would be online?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Can you explain the Williamson County half mixed drinks?
Yes, yes, ma'am. That is we get revenue from the state in the state shared tax program. There's a charge for liquor by the drink, and the state pays us, and then we're under in an agreement with the county to pay them half of that revenue. And so we show that half of the revenue that we received as an expenditure out to the county.
Is that all? Okay. How many part-time employees do we have?
Maybe 5. You've got a park ranger, you got 1 auxiliary police, you got 1 volunteer firefighter. We did have 2 volunteer firefighters. Unless you consider yourselves part-time employees, which I don't really.
I'm definitely,
I'd say below 5.
okay. And then, of our salaried employees, do they receive overtime?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so no salary employed receive, no salary employees receive any overtime?
Correct.
pay? Okay.
Is that in any form, or is that just in paycheck? In the past, they were given time off.
No, we don't. We haven't used comp time or anything as far as for compensation. Probably in at least 8 or 9 years. So yeah, everything is on a cash basis currently.
So your 80 hours isn't paying off.
So like when we have a special event and city employees are involved in that, that's just part of their normal salary?
Well, we have, not everybody is salary. You've got some that are hourly. So, you know,
Okay. All right. Good
I'm
point.
on salary, your city recorder is on salary, finance director's on salary, and the department heads are on salary.
Okay, so just basically the department heads and the ones you mentioned, they're the only ones on salary. Everybody else is hourly and would receive
Yes.
overtime?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
How much do we have in the, what I would consider a park fund that is for maintenance, any type of, you know, funding to, like, the 3 parks that we have?
That's generally comes out of the general fund, and it's whatever you appropriate. We, on the line item, I can look real quick, what we budgeted this year. Get my glasses. Right now, they've got it divided up in things like trail maintenance, lake maintenance,
So there's not like, it just seems to me like it.
maintenance on the nature center. They've divided it up in between different sections, so you could kind of add all that up to get the total.
Okay, because I guess I was thinking there was like one park fund that was, say, let's just, for even numbers, 150,000, and it would be distributed as needed for maintenance and stuff, so there's nothing like that,
No,
right?
we've got a History Village repair line item and History Village maintenance line item, Veterans Park maintenance, Veterans Park repair, and on for vice versa, for the parks. And that's just whatever y'all appropriate. And then if we run into something, we need, we'll bring it to you with an amendment. But we do have one line item that is kind of split up. There's $100,000 in.
That's probably what I'm thinking of. It was, I want to say it was like, something like 120 that I'd seen, or something like that.
Hold on just a sec. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's-
That's where I was going with that.
Yep, that's,
It seems like I'd remembered that there was, some $100,000 figure that was
and
divided.
it's still there, and we're anticipating spending at least half of that, if not more, this year.
For the paving?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And that's one reason I was wondering, because I know at the Historical Village, there's maintenance that needs to be
We had
done. and also-
originally, of course, I didn't put this budget together.
Right.
But originally, and after conversations with Keith, and that 50% was allocated for History Village. If it needs to be more, we can look at that at this year's budget. But that was what was in this year's budget. And I don't know,
And if-
I don't know if we're anywhere close to getting, I don't know if we've got anybody out giving us any estimates or anything. And I think we're probably going to try to do that this next fiscal year.
So so we would just come up with a new number? It's not like a rollover or something like that? We would just
Correct,
come up with a
correct.
new number? Okay.
Yes.
That's all I have. Does anyone else have questions, comments about the budget, amended budget? Okay, so we have a first and a second. Mr. Ross?
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Street,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 10B passes 5-0. Item 10C, Resolution 28-23, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the agreement between Reagan Smith and the City of Fairview, Tennessee. I've received a letter from our city engineer, Sarah Toddy. And Mr. Darty, if you'd like to read that, okay.
This is Resolution 2823, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute, we already read that. This is Sarah Toddy's staff report on this. City of Fairview Board of Commissioners authorized two resolutions, 3321 and 3421, for the initial bond resolution authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $9,950,000 general obligation bonds on October 21, 2021. This resolution authorized funds to be used for very specific purposes, including the improvements on Northwest Highway and Highway 96. The City of Fairview advertised a request for qualifications for on-call engineering services for improvements to Northwest Highway and Chester Road. 6 applicants submitted qualification packages, and Reagan Smith was chosen as they had the qualifications, staff, and expertise needed for completion of these projects. The City of Fairview went into contract with Reagan Smith for these services on November 7th, 2022, with an initial work order. This amended work order on the agenda tonight is for a total fee of $135,500 for Reagan Smith to develop preliminary right-of-way and construction plans for the realignment and widening of Northwest Highway from State Route 96 to approximately 875 to the south. The proposed improvements to Northwest Highway seek to widen to a 3 to 12-foot lane, 12-foot lane section with curb, gutter, and 5-foot sidewalks on both sides to provide a realigned 90-degree signalized intersection at Northwest Highway and State Route 96. The realignment land was purchased by the City of Fairview recently for the 90-degree alignment of the road to SR 96. This project will also include a new box culvert to replace the existing culvert along the existing roadbed. In addition, State Route 96 will be widened symmetrically to accommodate the left turn lane and a dedicated right turn lane at the newly aligned Northwest Highway intersection. This work order amendment pertains to the preliminary phase of this project. Additional work orders will be issued at a later date to provide scope and fee for the right-of-way phase and additional phases to this project. This work order includes the full survey for the Northwest Highway 3-lane road project. Lee Schuman, the project engineer for Reagan Smith in charge of this project, is here tonight if y'all have any questions.
Thank you. And I did want to add, I was out last meeting due to a severe illness with my mother, and I asked for this item to be deferred because I just wanted clarification. And Mr. Daugherty, myself, and Sarah Toddy had a Zoom meeting with Reagan Smith. All of my questions were answered, and I'm confident in moving forward with this.
When is the state going to perform the work to 96?
I'm not sure. I would have to get that information for you. I know we've got a lot of work to do before that, but they would I believe the state would do, once they get ready to start doing the lighting and stuff, they would perform a lot of the services out there by the state. But I know preliminary things we've got to do.
Reagan Smith have an answer?
Good evening. I'm Lee Schuman, Reagan Smith. So was the question, when's the state's going to work on the symmetrical widening of 96?
Yes, sir.
That would be, I mean, the purpose of this project is the design and construction of that in conjunction with Northwest Highway, so the state won't be responsible for the construction of that. That's been my understanding. We will have to coordinate with them because it's their right-of-way, and they'll have to approve of what we do.
So
But my
every bit of this will be funded by the city?
That's been my understanding.
And do we have a total scope of work of what the city's going to be out for this entire project? I don't mean just what we're paying Grissom Smith. I'm talking about the millions of dollars it's going to cost to do this.
Reagan Smith.
I'm not talking about what we're just paying them.
No,
I'm talking about,
just clarification, Reagan Smith,
what did I say?
Gresham Smith.
Oh, sorry, Reagan Smith.
That's all right.
Just clarification.
The number I've seen is between $3 and $3.5 million. But I don't have anything to nail down more than that.
And who distributed that to you?
That's out of the bond fund. That's where it's coming from.
No, but who told you that figure and how did they calculate it?
This was somewhere between November 17th and probably January 5th. I was requesting information, project lists, where are we on the bonds, and where are we on the ARP? You know, just trying to get my information together, and that is the number I recall on the Northwest Highway 96 portion.
And you received that in an email or documentation was delivered to you?
I believe it may have been both. I may have received a hard copy and a copy on the email. I believe it was a hard copy, though.
And who did it come from?
It was either Michael Sullivan or Kevin Smith, or maybe both.
Okay.
So every bit of this is gonna come from the bond. Since we're having to widen the roads due to all the development going on, are the developers pitching in anything for this?
They're doing a widening around their portion. The portion we're talking about is I guess east of their project. So I think there's two projects going on that each developer is going to do infrastructure in front of their project is what the hope is.
You don't have anything in writing from the developers?
We don't have anything in writing that there's going to be a development.
Then there's no need for us to pass Reagan Smith moving forward with this project.
If you want, this really doesn't have anything to do with the project
Yeah,
that they're building. It's outside, it's down the road. We just bought that land to put a fire station on eventually as well. We want to make it a 90-degree intersection instead of the angle that it is. And so I think that needs to be done regardless of any of the buildings. And if the widening will only be, I don't know what the distance is, but it's down to before the development.
Well, and this is for the fire department.
The fire department, would they not have access to the street? Do they not have a?
They're not gonna come straight out of the fire hall?
Yeah.
Yes, but
During our capital improvements project, long-range planning, this area was identified that Fairview need to make improvements at the bridge intersection of Northwest, irregardless to anything that happens post that bridge area. So Fairview identified and during those discussions said, we're going to take from that section forward, we're going to acquire that corner parcel, realign the road so it hits 96 better. It's a more feasible intersection. It'll be a better access point. It'll be a better safety point. I think even fire department, the access was going to come off of Northwest. They'd be able to control the light at the intersection, to be able to control entrance and exit. And then past that bridge area, there's two projects that before site plan approval would be approved. It would be an agreement of their improvements and payment towards completion of that section. Just some back history.
and also, I mean, Reagan Smith, there was an RFQ done, and they're already on board. It's not like we're approving them to start new. This is something that, they're already doing.
And so once they get the design work done, we could get bids and have a better understanding of the financial cost.
And the land's already been purchased for this project.
How many phases are there estimated to be?
Pardon?
How many phases do y'all estimate there to be?
Phases of construction? I would assume, I guess I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. It could all be built
So-
at once. I mean, we may have to phase for traffic control, one side or the other, but it's not a substantially large project.
Well, on this one, because it said the phases, where did I go? Hold on, sorry. So the amount on it said 135 for this.
Preliminary phase, right.
So how many,
So generally, there's a preliminary phase, and then a right-of-way phase, and then a construction phase. And those usually represent milestones of the plan submittals. So a preliminary plan submittal would be about 30% design, where we get an idea of the horizontal, vertical of the road, understand the property impacts. Then we would present that to the city for review. And that would also help us understand what kind of right-of-way impacts, so that we could then budget for the right-of-way phase, or we would submit plans that are more detailed on the acquisition of, the needed acquisition, whether it be easement or right-of-way for the adjacent properties. And then once that phase is concluded, then we would go to construction phase, which is finalizing the plans with all the finishing touches, quantities, and that sort of thing in order to bid to a contractor to be built.
Okay, so,
Mayor, just for clarification, the city's already under contract with Reagan and Smith, and this is
Yes.
just an amendment to the
Yes.
phase that they're going to go about, first
We
phase.
are already under contract with Reagan Smith. There was an RFQ done. They were awarded the project.
When do you foresee coming back and asking for more money?
We would reassess after the preliminary phase, and the purpose of that is, instead of guessing in the future of what we think is going to happen on this project and how much effort it would take, we've chosen to break it out into pieces so that we have all the information, so then we come to right away, we can actually scope the project and not scope a guess of what the project would be, so that it will be more economical for the city and less guesswork and scope and fee.
Mayor, I have one more question. Since this is under a bond issue, whatever, if the developments go through, they're going to be deducted to where we wouldn't have as large a bond issue to pay back. Is that correct?
I didn't hear that, I'm sorry.
In other words, if the developments that are coming in the future, if they come, they're not approved yet, whatever they pay, would that be deducted from the overall expense of the bond?
I'm not sure how that works.
I think it's,
From a city
I think it's two different issues. Like, the one we're talking about is just, from the bridge forward, 875 feet back from Highway 96.
Right.
The straightening, the widening, and then you would also have, where the developers would be involved, would start from their developments on back.
So that's not in the estimate that we needed for the bond, is what those developments would be paying for.
No.
Okay.
so was this the original letter that we saw? It was 35,000 in the beginning, and so now you're amending it up to 135.
So when we originally selected, it was for an on-call engineering services that were two projects in mind, which was the Northwest Highway project and Chester Road project. When we were selected to provide those services, there was a lot of unknowns in the limits of those projects and what exactly they wanted to have done. I know there was a good bit of coordination with the development along Northwest Highway, and they were still trying to determine if that was going to happen and cost sharing and what the typical section would be. So we were asked to do some preliminary work on the front end, basically work on aerials and LiDAR and kind of help usher that conversation to understand what it was going to be, do some preliminary cost estimates on the project as a 2-mile project. And so that was what the original budget was for, was to help with those meetings. And then since the project has been pared down to be essentially just a realignment of Northwest Highway and the widening of 96, and then we were asked not to switch our focus to Horn Tavern Road to help with some overtopping and some safety concerns for 3 culvert crossings along that road. And so we also helped develop and understand what that would be. And then once we did those things, then we were going to put together a true scope of services for the known projects once that research had been done.
So this is starting to become an even bigger project that y'all are going to be doing. Because now you've mentioned Horn Tavern.
Yes, we are simply just serving what we've been asked to
The city is
do.
asking them to do these things. They're not like coming up with it.
But the question is why? Why is
Why
this-
what?
Why is the city
Why
asking?
the road improvements are needed for our community?
No, it's not that. It's just like we got into about the IT. If we can hire an engineer that can do this for us, why would we not hire an engineer, pay them $150,000 a year, and that's what they do, instead of paying them $135,000, then they're gonna come back 6 months from now and it's another $200,000, and then it's just on and on and on. We don't even know what it's gonna cost us. And my question is Sarah not certified to do this?
If I may, Commissioner, Sarah's an engineer, but this is not the type of work a city engineer does. This is specialty type work that Reagan Smith does, along with maybe a couple other engineer firms in the state. It is not something a city engineer does. Any city that's engaging in this type of project will hire a Reagan Smith type engineering firm to come in and do that. Sarah, Ms. Toddy's a great engineer, but she's not a road engineer. This is not the type of work she does
But there's
at all.
nothing that would prohibit a city government from hiring a road engineer.
Well, I don't think quite frankly, I don't think Fairview could hire Reagan Smith to come in and be an employee. I mean,
It's a less expense to contract this than
this
to
is
hire
for
an employee.
on-call contracting. Nashville, Knoxville, Chattanooga, Memphis will hire Reagan Smith to do this type of work. They don't even try to bring them in-house. It's
As well
not feasible or done.
As well as other municipalities in Williamson County,
But-
correct?
Yes,
Yes.
that have larger budgets.
That's the point, larger budgets. We have a much smaller budget.
And we don't need to hire a full-time employee that's going to cost us.
You have to hire a full-time engineering firm because this is multiple disciplines, and I'm not an engineer, but this is not just an engineer, one engineer. This is multiple disciplines in the engineering field that work on projects like this. You'd have to hire 20 engineers to come in or more to do this type of work.
I don't believe that, but I do know what you're saying.
I've worked for many engineering firms, and it's not one person in a scope of work like this that handles this whole thing. It's different departments within the engineering firm that all do their part and collaborate together. So you'd have many different engineers who would have to be hired to just do this one task. And actually,
I'm not disagreeing with
what they're
that.
asking for this price is, not out of the realm of,
No, I'm not disputing that either, but I just know when the state provided us an engineer, and he came to every planning commission meeting, I mean, how come the roads worked back then?
Roads are still the same from back then, unfortunately. And so this is all part of our capital bond that we took on, $10 million bond last year for capital improvements. We have studied the roads, our engineering, our prior engineering team and our current engineer studied and identified some areas of major improvements that are needed. And so that's what we're proceeding with now from a time standpoint or budget standpoint. Like they're going to do the surveying work, the civil engineer design work. That's going to be a huge outfit that takes this on, and not just one person that could come in and take it. And then the bond money has an expiration and a time frame that we have to spend and make the improvements. So
that's a good point. This bond money has an expiration, and we do have to spend the money. So it's already there, appropriated for this,
this is us investing our dollars back into
our
our
community
community. Yep.
to help improve roads that have desperately needed to be improved for.
An example in the legal field would be if this board were to take out a big bond. Technically, I have the degree to do bonds. I'm not a bond lawyer. You would have to hire Waller Lansden or a large firm that has an entire bond department that does it. I wouldn't even try to do it. I have the degree to do it, but I wouldn't try to do it because it's not my training or expertise, nor do I have the employees in my office to handle that type of work. I don't do that for Spring Hill. They use a firm in Nashville, Columbia when they do bond work, same way. So Ms. Toddy is an engineer, and I suppose she could sit down and try to do the work, but wouldn't get done, it wouldn't be feasible, it wouldn't be done to the level of expertise. I think that's the point.
I'm just having a hard time understanding why we're gonna have to pay so much, knowing that y'all pretty much have the insight on the other stuff going on with the developments. So it's just a big price tag to me.
So clarify what you're asking as far as the insight on other developments. I don't understand.
As the engineer for one of the developments that this road project will help with, so you know what's going to happen, what's coming. You know a lot more in advance of what to expect because you know what you've engineered for this company, and it's still a lot of money coming from the citizens again.
I can address that. I'm not working for the development. I'm a public sector in our company. It's broken into two sectors. There's a public sector who we all work for, state, municipal type clients. We utilize public funding through taxes, and we represent the state and the municipalities in that way. And we follow municipal guidelines, state guidelines, national guidelines. The private sector of our company, and this is very common with all engineering companies, they do what we call private money, where they work for developers. We don't work together. There's essentially like a firewall. So I don't ask, I don't know. My client is the city. This is where I keep myself employed and my employees employed. So if I was to work for the developer and it angered the city would fire me, then I would lose my job. So we work strictly and represent strictly our clients on the public sector side. They work strictly with their clients on the private sector side, and I don't have anything to do with the development or any of the engineering on it. I simply do what I'm asked to do for the city and try to do my best there and follow the regulations that we are guided by as, public sector representatives.
And you do understand that the development and the roads that are included in that and what Reagan Smith is doing for us as far as the road improvements, there's no conflict and they don't overlap at all.
It's pretty common. Every engineering firm I've ever worked for had a public and private sector. We're professionals, so I have no benefit to understand what the developer or the development side's doing. There's no benefit to my job or, what I do, with my employees and my clients.
Anything else?
I have a question for clarification. Is from 96 at this intersection all the way down to the development, is any section of that road not under the city's control?
I don't believe so. I think that in 2008, when that Bellhaven project was first introduced, they annexed Northwest Highway, and possibly prematurely, or that's the discussion that's been had. But I think that entire parcel was annexed that road.
And that is exactly right. That's what happened.
Does it go past the curve on around?
Sir, yep. There are parcels there that are not part of the city limits, but the road itself is in the city.
The road is in the city.
Okay.
It was annexed about 2009, 2010, after I left the board in 2008.
So it was
Just making sure nothing's changed, because
so it was a city road since 2008. The whole road.
I think he's saying 2009, 2010.
2009, 2010 was when it was annexed, and it was annexed then so the city could improve the roads. And I wasn't on the board at that time. I left the board in 2008.
We have had de-annexations and stuff in the past. I was just making sure in my time away, we still have control of every bit of it.
Any other discussion? I guess we need a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Mr. Ross?
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Street, Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 10C passes 4-1. Thank you. Item 10D, Resolution 30-23, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between Extreme Lighting and Sound, LLC, and the City of Fairview, Tennessee. Mr. Ross?
Yes, ma'am. This contract is for us to contract with ELS, which is Extreme Lighting and Sound. They're local out of Fairview, and they will provide all the production for July 3rd, lighting, sound, you name it, that is on the production side.
Did they do this last year?
Yes, ma'am. They have, I've been handling this event for the last 3 years, and I've been employed for nearly 12. And I believe they have been doing this for 9 years. Maybe Commissioner Johnson might be able to correct me on that.
So what was the cost last year?
The last year, the cost was $12,000.
And what is the cost this year?
The cost this year is $13,800.
My question is going to be, Mayor, was this bid out? Was anybody else given the opportunity for?
Yes, sir. I contacted a company called Bradfield Stage Lighting. They gave a quote of $12,471.18 just for the lighting itself. And that did not include any sound or staging or anything of that nature. And then I also contacted Elite Multimedia, which is out of Nashville, and they contacted me back and they said that they were unable to put us on the schedule due to their schedule being booked, and they would not be able to give us a quote for the event.
Move for approval.
I just have one more question. So, did we advertise for, I know you contacted 3 people. I was just wondering, did we advertise for this?
No, ma'am, I did not. We did not advertise this. I just reached out to several different companies that are known for this type of work.
Mayor.
Yes.
Mr. Ross, if I'm correct, last year the sponsorships covered the expense of the events, right?
That's correct. The last 2 years that I've handled the event, we've been blessed with sponsorships covering over 100% of the event. So we're hopes to having that again this year.
And the only reason I asked for last year's cost in this is because of the fireworks.
Yes, ma'am.
The fireworks were going to go up $10,000.
Correct. So I can kind of go in a little bit of detail on the last 3 years that or the last 2 previous years that I've handled this. My first year handling it, it was, I believe it was $9,500. Then it jumped up to, it was $10,000. Then it jumped up to $12,000 due to cost of labor. And then this year it jumped up to $13,800 because of cost of labor and the fees for renting that equipment out.
And I was merely asking that because of the large increase which you handled by hiring someone else to do the fireworks.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I reached out to the other companies as well, just because of the price increase with the fireworks, and wanted to give the citizens the fair cost of everything, make sure we're offering the best for the price.
I believe we have a first and a second. Is there any other discussion? Mr. Ross?
I don't believe you have a second yet. Am I
I
right?
thought Ms. Street
Oh, I'm
seconded.
sorry.
That's
Didn't hear
okay.
you, Ms. Street, sorry.
Yeah. Mr. Ross?
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Street,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 10D passes 5-0. Item 10E, Resolution 31, Resolution 31-23, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the State of Tennessee Office of Criminal Justice Programs and the City of Fairview, Tennessee. And I just want to say that since this is no matching funds and it's just free money, we did not require Chief Humphreys to be here for this vote or discussion.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Ross?
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Butler,
Aye.
Commissioner Street,
Aye.
Commissioner Hall,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson.
Aye. Item 10E passes 5-0. Item 10F, declaration that Bowie Hollow Road is a public city street. I had this put on the agenda for one reason, and that's to just make it, just put it on the record that there's been some question in the past. Mr. Daugherty has gotten clarification from the county for this, and just after investigation, we just wanted to make a declaration so that everyone is aware, and also that this city street is eligible for all Fairview City services. And there's no question about that because there has been in the past. So there's no vote required, and there can be discussion if anybody would like to make any comments, but basically, we're just making a declaration. Yes.
Tom, did you find out from the county, did they tell you at any point, any year, any decade, when it was de-annexed from being a city road?
Well, there's no record that they told me that it's ever been de-annexed.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, I was just gonna ask, that's what, on the county GIS, it doesn't have, it's not shown as a county road or a city road. It's not shown as if there was right of way. So that was my question of, if it's not actively and we declare it a city road, how do you acquire right of way? How do you record it? How do you show it on a plat? Does it need to be surveyed? How do you, do you have to go through the formal process of showing where that road is, how that road is? That's just my only questions, because I couldn't find anything on the county map as in regard to it being a county road or a city road.
I've been in contact with Brad Ryan, with the county. I can get you his information, but he told me the county was updating their map.
And that's what I was going to comment as well. We're in the process of working through several things where maps are incorrect, maps have not been updated. So this is a situation where it has always been a city street. It never should have been declared that it was not a city street. And this is just to clarify that Bowie Hollow Road is eligible for all services, and it is actually a city street, and Williamson County will be updating their maps to show that.
No, I was just trying to clarify.
I know,
I think it's
and I
classified
just-
as a private street right now, not
I
a
know,
county.
and there's times when maps are not updated and incorrect, and there's several issues that we're working through right now with, where that's the case. So
Absolutely.
It's, you know, it's not uncommon for that to be the case.
More or less for me, I guess, would be an understanding of if someone who lives there was trying to subdivide or to replat or record, where's the right of way, where's the line stop, what does the city own, what does the city not own? Because we own our roads, we have a right of way on all our roads, and so I just don't know where the clear definition is. It might be a problem in the future. So,
And I believe, Mr. Darty, you're getting, they're updating right now, and they'll provide us
county will
with
give us
that.
any road we want. Anytime we ask about a road, the county will give it to us, yeah, happily.
If it's officially done, though, does it give access to Bowie Park?
You can access Bowie Park from it. The park frowns on that being used as an access point, but
It leaves it open for that access later on. So it's not, we need something in place to protect that part of the road.
I don't know that, that may be a topic down the road. There was a lot of other considerations that, you know, I was talking to another title attorney, and I've not got a total 100% from him, but I have from the county. But, you know, his questions were, has the street been maintained by the city? And the answer is yes. Do the residents down that street pay city taxes? The answer is yes. So, you know, there's a lot of, you know, as far as what Commissioner Butler is saying, I don't have the answers for, but I do know there's a lot of evidence saying that this has been treated as a city road in the past, and just as of recently, it hasn't. So
the city paved
The
it.
city paved
The
it,
city
it's got a
paved the
city
road.
street
No.
sign, I mean.
I don't know. I know there's going to be some issues, but as far as this goes, I think, I don't know. I'll do anything the board wants me to do as far as doing any more digging, but I feel like I've about gotten to the bottom of the barrel.
And that's just why I
Fair
asked
enough.
him, maybe you have the residents on that road sign an affidavit that they agree it's a city road. Just, you know, in 5 years, if somebody says, you know, the city of Fairview declared this a road and they took 25 foot of my property or something, you know, are we taking property by declaring a 50-foot right-of-way for a city road right there? That's my only question. Mr. Carter, I don't know if you have any feelings on that.
I think it's better just to leave it as it is with the city's history.
Yep.
There probably are some open issues, but I'm comfortable.
What's up? That's good.
Sometimes you don't want black or white, sometimes a little gray.
Fair. That's fair.
I do have one question. Stuart, you may can answer this. At the cul-de-sac where it comes down from the power line, once you go past the cul-de-sac, is that the park property?
The cul-de-sac actually is in the park property. It
Okay.
is the park.
All right. Because I accessed the, coming from a hayride, I accessed that took about an hour and a half to get down that hill with my tractor.
Absolutely.
If I hadn't had the front end loader, I would have never made it. But I
So-
thought that was the quickest way home.
And just to keep everything out in the open, I do reside on that street. There's no vote being taken, and I think 3 more years, my family has owned the property for 100 years. So, and the other farm I own over on Sugar Camp, we've owned since 1886, so. Been there a while. We've had it way before the city came around.
And actually, there were several residents on that road who have asked that this be clarified. So, and it wasn't Stewart.
Yeah, not even my family.
It wasn't his family. It was the other families. It was the other families on the road that there's a man and a lady, and she's disabled, and a tree fell across the road, and he was worried that she would not be able to, you know, an ambulance or something would not be able to get to her possibly. So there's been a lot of discussion with me and, you know, not by Stewart's family, but by the others, that we clarify this so that there's no question.
And just so everybody that doesn't know, it is a dead-end road that dead ends into the park, so there's no other access out. And during the storms, we had 8 trees fall completely across the road. And if Tom hadn't have sent people out there, those people would have been trapped. So thank you for that. I wasn't home, but there were several people, elderly people that lived below me that were home.
So it could be brought up as an item later on for the agenda to make sure it stops right there and doesn't continue. It stays a dead end.
Well,
I think the land trust, I mean, it would be you'd have to do something major to be able to extend that road into the park. I think that would be a land trust of Tennessee issue.
Right, but we have to make sure.
Oh, yeah. But we couldn't.
well, the boundary is set on the park, so even though it goes into the cul-de-sac,
Where
it
the-
stops right there.
Where the bus turns around every day is inside the park. And if we prohibited that, then the bus would literally be going down a straightaway.
And not be
And
able
they
to
would
get
have to
out.
back all the way back out.
It's not just that, it's fire and police.
Oh, yeah,
And it's
Right.
all
I'm
the
not
services.
saying not have the dead end. I just want to make sure that the dead end cannot be extended.
Well, it can't be
it
extended
maintains
into
a
the
dead
park.
end.
Because we have a land trust easement on the park, so it can't be extended into the park.
Plus, you'd have to build a bridge over the creek. that
Yeah,
wouldn't
there's a
do it.
creek right there.
Make sure, that's all.
All right, moving on. Item number 11, communication from the mayor and commissioners. Commissioner Fisher-Street.
Let's see, I think, I'm really excited about the upcoming events that we have. I plan on being at as many as I can, and I hope to see everyone there. And, you know, thank y'all for helping and supporting. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank the staff that we have here. I think we got top-notch staff from police and fire, public works, administration, planning commission side, codes. I just want to thank them for everything they do. And thank for everybody that came out tonight, and the young lady that's still back there. Thank you, ma'am, for being here. Thank y'all, commissioners. Have a good night.
Vice Mayor Butler.
Thank you, Mayor. I was studying some things the other day, saw that TDOT has allocated $3 billion towards road improvements this year to try and increase and enhance from the previous gas tax bill. And so I don't know what we can do, and I know you've been attending GNRC, what we can do to try and push on the Cumberland, push on the sidewalks, because they just increased their budget substantially to try and catch up some of those projects that were earmarked and tagged to try and catch up, because they said they have an estimated $23 billion in road improvements that need to be done. And so anything we can do to push on that. And so if you're hearing or discussing anything, and then good luck to the softball and baseball teams with district tournament this week. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. I would like to thank the Public Works guys, Todd and his crew, for, endless hours of trying to get, since the chipper truck has started, just getting all the cleanup done around the community. It's, I have driven around, and before it was a lot, and they're really hitting it hard and getting it taken care of, and I really appreciate that. Really excited that the pickets are going up. Looking forward to seeing that get finished, and glad that Keystone's on board so that we can, have regular IT, because I know that that can be, a strain on people when they have to try to figure it out themselves. Thank you for everyone who came out tonight. Good meeting. Thank you to the commissioners. As I always say, let's, especially with as pretty as the weather's been, let's just help pick up trash and not throw it out so we can keep our community beautiful. Thank you. I entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you.